I just got done watching this absolutely fantastic movie, and this is a movie that I think you really need to try to see at least once. And if you look at reviews online, apparently I'm not the only one who thinks that. I think I didn't really see anything just like at a quick glimpse, nothing less than really like a 75%. So I'm not the only one who thinks it's good. I'm not going to go into like crazy detail when it comes to this movie, but I want to just kind of like quickly go over a lot of the things that I really liked about it, stood out to me, and really made me think, yes, this movie is super good, and really were like the reasons why, like the whole time, I never had a moment where I felt like I wanted to skip something. Something felt like it just really didn't need to be there. And also, there's couple of weird parts about it too, where I noticed and it made me kind of wonder like if there's like a different cut of this movie or this it was supposed to have maybe a different rating and then somebody made a decision really far into into making the movie where they changed up some things to get maybe a level rating because I believe this movie is PG. Wow, PG, really? Huh. That is actually very surprising that the movie is actually PG. So yeah, looking at that and like how some things were done in this, it makes me think that this movie was supposed to maybe have like a PG-13 or possibly even an R rating to it, and they lowered it by a lot. And and it's definitely like an old-timey rating because that would not get PG anymore. That would get PG-13 just for just some of the humor that's used in it. But I mean, like the movie, it does a very good job at establishing the characters and how they're going to be, and what you probably are going to expect from them as the movie goes on. You get, I believe it's if I mispronounce his name, sorry, I'm not very great with him, but it's Tony Shalhoub. He plays Monk in the TV show Monk. He ended up being my favorite character in this whole movie just for how his just like his attitude just toward the whole thing and just kind of being like, you know what, whatever, this is just how it's going to go. And that's established and immediately, like he's not even rehearsing, trying to make sure anything about, when he's prepping, he's just doing crosswords. He's just there. Like it's awesome. He became my favorite character in this movie. The way this movie goes is it's a cast of a sci-fi show that's clear it's been done for a while, and there's aliens that think that there was not a TV show but it was historical documents, and that they're actually a real like space crew, and that they're able to help them with a real situation that they have going on. And very quickly you kind of find out that they are not like fit for this job because of course they're actors. um and they even have like a moment too where they have this whole thing of like, they kind of try to play it a little bit. But they kind of do like a Bug's Life where once they realize how real the situation is, they like immediately try to get out of it. Like if you remember, like when the Bugs found out that they don't want them to be like circus performers, they actually want them to try to be like warriors and fight off these grasshoppers. And they're just like, nope, we're leaving. They have the same thing here, where while they're sitting there and eating at this like like a chow hall or a cafeteria, however you'd want to call it, they essentially like watch their old captain or whatever get like tortured, and they have the same deal where they're all just kind of watch it. It ends, and then it just cuts to them just being like, nope, we're done, we're going home, screw this, we're out. I mean, of course they don't. The movie must go on, and they try their best, and I think they do a good job. So like, and they really start their whole, like, I guess you'd kind of call it a charade with the guy who's supposed to navigate, uh because they do this whole thing where it's like, the controls are designed exactly how you guys used it in your documents, because that's how we created it to be, to replicate the whole thing. And so he starts flying it, and so far so good, and it's going, and it's like super slow, and everyone's like, yeah, this is great. And then it like slowly starts veering to the left, and I know, like, I caught myself, like, while I'm watching it going that way, I like start leaning, like, you need to go to the right a little bit. And it was super funny, like, watching, like, all, because they go to all the other characters, and they're doing the same thing I'm doing, where they start like leaning to the right. And that felt really weird to me, where I was like, oh, we're all doing the same thing now. And then the ship just is scraping up against the dock, and just everybody's like facial expressions during the whole thing is just exactly how you would react in that scenario. It was so real. It was fantastic. And the way that the other characters reacted to the scraping of the ship is exactly how anybody in that scenario would react to it. It felt very real, and I think that was a huge part of why it was so funny. They have a scene later on too when they actually like introduce the villain, and he Tim Allen's character is wanting to, because they do that whole thing where they're talking, and then he tries to do like this thing, trying to say that he wanted them to like cut the conversation. And then he was telling them, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this, this, and this, and this. And then after he does that, he goes and he's like, all right, I'll put him back on. And they're like, we we never cut off. And he's like, what? And then, and the guy's like, pretty much, he's like, yeah, I heard you the whole time. And I don't think that they would have been able to have done that part of it any better. I think it was absolutely perfect. Just, it's so good. Just that interaction, it felt very real. If that was going to happen, that's how it was going to go. And I think that's like a big part of why I think this movie did a good job, is that nothing felt artificial. Just everything, the way that they went, it's like, this is how it would go. Either that, or almost, get like the feeling that maybe like some of the writers were in situations like this, and somebody was like, wow, this is really good. What made you, like, how'd you come up with this? I didn't. This actually happened to me. And they'd be like, oh, wow. And they have a scene later on where, they have this whole, battle that happens, and they end up needing to go and find some element that's down by like some mines on a planet. And they have like these aliens that that they see, and somebody's like, oh, they look like adorable, and like, they wouldn't really, they're probably not dangerous, or we shouldn't be scared of them. And they even have like one who's like clearly injured or something, and she's like, oh, look, like they even let like the injured one like go for the water first or whatever, like. And they let him go for the water first, and it's like, oh, maybe they're like a nice, like, caring little society of something. And then it has it to where like it zooms in on like two that are behind him, and it looks like the one like literally leans over and like says something, and the other one like kind of agrees, and then it just like snaps into this whole like, oh no, we're this, it's not what you think. And they immediately rip this thing apart. And like the one guy is pretty much just like, yeah, have you not seen the movies? This is usually how it goes. And he's like 100% referencing Gremlins, and there's no way you're going to tell me he's not. Like, it's just 100% what is the case, and you can't argue with me on it. It's super well done. And then it gets like more so like toward the end of the movie, and they do the part where it starts to, like, everybody, like, in the positions that they've been in, they're all just kind of like, they were just kind of like meandering through it. But now like the situation's really like, it's getting real. And then all of a sudden it's like everybody's now like actually in the parts that they're supposed to play, like when they were in the show. And like Alan Rickman's character like does like a fantastic job of it, where, because like he's supposed to be like a dramatic actor, and he actually has a moment where he realizes, he's like, oh, I don't need to act in this. This is happening. This is how I'm going. This is how we're gonna treat it, and it's so well done. They have like a moment also where, like, they have to admit to like the alien crew who they've kind of just been like somewhat pretending to try to really be like an actual like a space crew, and they have to, he has to admit to him like, no, we're really not. And that scene during that whole thing was actually like, it's so sad, but I think it's because they like the villain in it, he does a very good job of like making, making them feel bad for having to tell them like the truth, because like they didn't realize they were actors, but he shows him, he's like, dude, we're not really a space crew, like look, like show them the show. And he shows it to him and he's watching it and he immediately is like, oh, huh, yeah, you guys are actors. And one, he's making him tell the truth to the alien that they had strapped and they were doing stuff to. He's like, you have to explain it to him like a child, tell him. And you're just like, oh my gosh, this is so like sad. Golly, like that does a very good job of like, even though this is a super funny movie, when they have those serious moments, the moments are like very serious, and then it's actually very sad. I really liked that part of it, and the way like the movie just kind of like when it ends, because I mean it ends up having a happy ending, with Shalhoub's character and the one girl from Dodgeball, because that's who she is. She plays she's also a character in Dodgeball. They end up being like a couple at the end of this, and she ends up like going and staying on Earth with him. There's a whole scene just between those two, and I think it was like that moment that made me really like his character the most. Uh, I won't explain to you what happens if you're able to watch the movie and you see it. It feels like it kind of almost comes out of nowhere, and then when it's actually happening, pretty much how the guy that's there with him, he pretty much was like kind of like almost going to be the red shirt of the crew. Like he's there and he's reacting the same way you would if you were watching the whole thing happen. And I think they do that because instead of being able to like do like the physical humor of like what's happening, to I guess like I said, like there's moments where I felt like this was gonna either be like a PG-13 or like a soft R-rated version. I think they ended up doing like these things so they kept it PG and using other things to kind of allude to what it is that's actually happening. And another reason why I think that this movie was edited to be PG, or maybe I have like the PG version, but there's like a different version out there. They have a moment where they're supposed to go through a hallway, and it just has a bunch of different things that's coming everywhere, and it's designed to just crush something if they try to go through because reasons and stuff. And when they see it, Sigourney Weaver's character, when she sees it, she has a reaction where when she sees it, and they're like, "Yeah, you need to go through there," and she clearly says, "Fuck that." But they have it to where she says they clearly like dubbed it over, and like I was like, when I saw that I was like, huh, and I had to, I think I rewound it like once or twice, and I'm like, yeah, she clearly said like, ooh, no, fuck that, but they like dubbed it over. And now I want to find out if there's like another version of this movie that's supposed to like not be as edited as it was. I gotta definitely look into that. So when the movie itself, like actually, like when it comes to like how it closes up, I think it does a very good job. Though I feel like if it happened the way that it did, people wouldn't just try to like continue like oh, this is like totally a setup thing. Like there's no way like with what happened that everybody would just kind of like have it go, because what it is it kind of ends with they were supposed to have a showing with them, and they're like, oh, I think it's the news, and like they're not here, we don't know what happened to them. And as that's happening, the ship that they end up coming in with, they crash it through the con, which I'm like watching, I'm like, there's no way that people are not like dead with how it went. It just goes through and then they all come out, and and they're introducing them as they come out, and then like the bad guy comes out and it looks like staged, but he grabs the pistol whatever and shoots the guy, and it's a very like dramatic death too, like it's but like also like small at the same time. um and I feel like they did that, and this is why like I partially think that there's like a differently rated version, where when they do it, it almost feels like they wanted him to like actually like explode, like with like liquids and stuff, but instead he just like disappears, like he's like disintegrated, and then there's like a little fireball poof, and it ends that way. Um, but yeah, everybody's just like, "Oh yeah, no, this was staged. This is totally how it happened," even though a guy literally evaporated in front of him. It was a little weird, but I think that's supposed to still be part of the comedy. But for some reason, it like weirdly took me out of it. But I don't think it still ruined the movie for me. But yeah, I would definitely say like as a whole, this is a movie that like I said, I highly recommend you watch it. Like, later today, I'll be playing some Smash Brothers. I think it's what people are wanting to do. But I have a streaming channel that I like to at least I try to do 3 times a week where I stream some games. I've played Banjo Tooie, uh, Shadow the Hedgehog. I'm wanting to play that a little bit more. The games that I'm currently trying to play right now are Super Mario 64 DS and Yoshi's Island DS. Those are going to be my two. But today I wanted to do some Smash Bros because I wanted to do stuff with the people. But I will also be doing another video like this probably in the next week or so. I try to record this weekly, but the last 2 or 3 weeks I've been kind of busy, so that's why it's taken so long for this one. Um, but I'm hoping that after this, I should be able to do this more consistently. So I appreciate it, everybody. Sub if you had a good time hanging out here. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I will see you guys in the near future.